This is Second Ezra 9:5. For like as all that is made in the world has a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. I like to start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Kol Haloyam La Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect that scattered abroad. The Akim and the Akwath that's listening in. Yahweh Ratazah, Lord willing that the lesson is edifying. It's the brother Shawab Amawan back at you with another lesson and going into the title 250 Years of Dominance, the Fall. All right. And as we just read, all right, for everything that has a beginning, it has an end. All right. And the end is manifest, meaning the end is clear. All right. And, you know, this dominance that America has, all right, is going to come to an end regardless. All right, whether they think it or not, whether they believe it or not, all right, whether they think they can't be taken down, all right, the rulership of America has to come to an end, all right. All good things, there's a saying in the world, all good things come to an end, all right. And, you know, even though America, Babylon the Great is not a good thing, all right, to them, they think it's a good thing to be here in Babylon the Great, to be here in America. Well, all good things come to an end, all right. The end is manifest. You see, you've been a long disease that's been ruling for a very long time, even going back to, you know, the ancient Roman Empire. All right, because here in Babylon the Great, they are the revival of the ancient Roman Empire. All right, but you know, you had Rome that ruled for a very long time, and then they fell. And because spiritually, you know, this is still the revival of the ancient Roman Empire, the same thing will happen again. All right. Excuse me. The same thing will happen again, where, you know, the modern day Rome, all right, Babylon the Great will fall, okay, and never rise back up again. It will never come back into power. All right, the fall that is going to happen this time is going to be the fall for good. All right, let's grab this real quick. Ecclesiasticus 10:8, and it reads 10, Salakia. As a matter of fact, let's take it from 8. Yeah, it says, because of unrighteous dealings and injuries and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. Yeah, because this place was established on bloodshed, right? When you go into Habakkuk, right? Habakkuk 2:12, it speaks about what? It says, woe to him that buildeth a town with blood, establish a city by iniquity, you see? So that's what this place was basically based off of. All right. When you go into Habakkuk, it also, when you go into Nahum, it speaks the same thing. All right. Nahum, let's grab that. This is Nahum 3:1. It says, woe to the bloody city. It is all full of lies and robbery. The prey departeth not. You see? So it's showing you. All right. As a matter of fact, continuing on, it says the noise of a whip, and the noise of the rattling of the wheels, and the prancing horses, and of the jumping chariots. It says, the horsemen lifted up both the bright sword and glittering spear, and there is a multitude of slain and a great number of carcasses, and there is none end of their corpses. They stumble upon their corpses because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcrafts, that selleth nations through her whoredoms and families through her witchcrafts. You see? So again, this place is based and built upon basically bloodshed, the souls of the Israelites. You know, it was built off the backs, the blood, sweat, and tears of the Israelites. All right. And then on top of that, this nation here has basically made all these other nations drink the wine and the wine and the fornication of this place, man. The different philosophies, the different ways, it has made all these other nations also want to be in the same image, all right, as Babylon the Great. And the Lord said, what? All right, that it will be destroyed, man. There's gonna be end. There's gonna be none end of their corpses, man. You know, corpses are gonna be all over the place, man. Bodies, you know, is gonna be very heavy here in Babylon the Great. All right, when the Lord comes back, the Lord say he should be, you know, it should be The slaying of the Lord shall be from one end of the earth to another. All right. And the greatest destruction and greatest carcasses is going to be here in Babylon the Great, because of the witchcraft and sorceries that they basically have, pushed out so much throughout the entire world. All right. These devils have, multiplied their their wickedness upon the earth. That's why the scriptures say, right, that wickedness has exceedingly polluted the whole entire earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. You see, so their sins have reached onto the heavens here in Babylon the Great. All right, and the fact that we're coming into this 250-year mark, and they're ready to celebrate. All right, Lord willing, Yahweh Ratazah, that He brings this place down, from the day that it's the 250-year mark, which is supposed to be on July 4th, all right, until the end of that whole year. Because for a whole year, from July 4th to the next July 4th, that's a whole entire year, all right, of the 250-year mark. So it might not end in this year today. We're hoping, that it does. But Babylon the Great might not be destroyed in 2026. It might be destroyed in 2027 before July 4th. So there's going to be a whole year, all right, of them, basically celebrating their 250-year mark, okay? And Lord will, that Yahweh brings this place down through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, all right? But we can only just sit back and wait, all right? And like I said, we know for a fact that the reign of this devil is finished, okay? It's time for this place to be destroyed, because, again, they've been a long disease here on planet Earth, right? Let's go back to Ecclesiasticus 10 and 8. It says, because of unrighteous dealings and injuries, riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. Why is earth and ashes proud? There is not a more wicked thing than a covetous man, for such as one setteth his own soul to sell, because while he liveth, he casteth away his bowels. Is the point. The physician cutteth off a long disease. You see, so they've been a long disease for a very, very long time. All right. And when you really go into that the statue in Daniel, how the legs represented, Rome, all right, them being in that rulership, that was a very long time, all the way down to the toes, right? And that's where we're at now. We're at the toes of the statue. All right. This is why you see the division coming upon this earth. All right. This is why Yahweh Shai is soon to intervene in this devil's power. All right, because he was going to be that stone that hits the toes, right, as the scriptures say. All right, so they've been ruling for a very long time, and again, those legs, the legs are the longest part of the statue, so it shows how long they've been in rulership. You see how long they've been a disease here upon earth, okay, all the way till now, right? So with that being said, let's read that again. It says, the physician cutteth off a long disease, and he that is today a king, tomorrow shall die. Okay, for when a man is dead, he shall inherit creeping things, beasts, and worms. Yeah, and that's what's coming to him. All right, he's gonna experience the true death. There's no longer gonna be, you're a king forever, all right, or a lady forever, as it tells you in Isaiah, the 47th chapter. Let's grab that real quick, right? This is Isaiah 47 and 47 and 7. It says, and thou said, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou did not lay these things to thy heart, neither did remember the latter end of it. Okay. It says, therefore, hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures and that dwell carelessly, that sayest in thine heart, I am and none else besides me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I have the loss of children. But these two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood, and they shall come upon thee in their perfection, for the multitude of thy sorceries and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. You see, so the Lord's going to bring Babylon, right, to come down and sit in the dust, All right, in that straight confusion that they have basically brought upon this place, the Lord gonna, make them sit down in their own dust, in their own confusion, right? Then it says, "O virgin daughter of Babylon," right? Because it's been a nation that has never really been touched. You see, like a virgin has never been touched, right? America's being considered as a virgin, all right, because she has never been touched. She has not seen her true judgment, right? It says, "Sit on the ground that there is no throne, O daughter of Chaldea, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate." You see. And this is why the Lord is exposing America, who they truly are. All right. This is why it's coming to an end. All right. Because it can no longer hide itself. All right. It can no longer hide the wickedness that it does here in on planet Earth. Okay. So going into that, right, I wanted to grab just a quick couple things I screenshotted. All right. Because America's considered it's almost considered a dynasty, right? There's different types of things it's considered. They consider it as an empire also, all right? But, a dynasty, let's see the word dynasty, right? The word dynasty goes into, give me 1 second. Definition of dynasty is a sequence of rulers or leaders who all belong to the same family. It can refer directly to the family itself, right? Or the historical period during which they held power. Okay. Now, the reason I bring that out and I call it a dynasty is because when you look at all these presidents that have ruled, right, they all go back to being part of the same lineage. Okay. As a matter of fact, let me grab this real quick. Give me 1 second. I screenshotted in here somewhere. Right. All right. Before I do that, let me bring out this video to give it a better understanding why I will call it a dynasty. Right. Because that also goes back to how they had things in Rome. All right. Because in when you go into Second Ezra 11, right? It speaks about, when you go into that Greco-Roman Empire, you had a dynasty in that time. You had the Flavian dynasty. All right, so it's all spiritual, right? Hold on, real quick. Which that was consisted of three different people. But hold on, real quick. This is I gotta find that video ahead. Give me 1 second. Here you go. This is what I mean, that they're all connected to the same family. Okay, because in order for you to be a president here in Babylon the Great, you have to go back to being part of the Illuminati. You have to be part of that actual lineage, right? So check this out. This is an interesting video right here.
Coming Monday is President's Day in the U.S., and therefore I thought it would be a good time to address the question, are all the U.S. presidents related?
Hold on, let me open this up for y'all. There you go.
Hi, this is Matt Baker. This coming Monday is President's Day in the U.S., and therefore I thought it would be a good time to address the question, are all the U.S. presidents related? You see, back in 2009, a young girl by the name of Brigianne Davignon made the news for having discovered that every single U.S. president, except one, is the direct descendant of King John of England. Ever since then, whenever people come across this fact, they assume that something extraordinary must be at work. Some people even start wondering about whether there really are secret societies that control the world, or ancient bloodlines that continue to hold on to power. Well, here's the thing. The answer to the question, are all the U.S. presidents related, is in fact yes. However, the problem is that we should actually be asking a different question. What we should be asking is,
and the one thing, and the one thing is, you have to remember that reincarnation exists. So if reincarnation exists, those same type of bloodlines, those same type of how it speaks about the 12 feathers in Second Ezra, the 11th chapter, right? They're here today, right? That's why you hear the elders talk about how they believe that Trump is Nero, you see, and he was one of them that was part of those 12 feathers. Okay, so it's all spiritual. They're back here today, all right, and this is why you could consider them, this place basically a dynasty, because they're all related with each other somehow, some way, and part of the same type of lineage, all right, and ultimately they all go back to being Esau, Edom at the end of the day, right? So continuing on,
presidents more closely related to each other than any other random group of natural-born Americans would be? Because the answer to that question is no. For example, 2 weeks ago on this channel, I demonstrated how Mr. Beat and I are actually 11th cousins, even though he's an American and I'm a Canadian. This is because if we go back far enough, everyone in the world is related to each other somehow. And you usually don't have to go back as
and at the end of the day, scriptures talk about not worrying about genealogies, right? Not getting caught up with that, all right? But when it comes to these people in power, best believe they are all related, and it's a proof. There you go, Esau trying to fuck with my live, right? So, when it comes down to the Illuminati, all right, they are all related. They will not allow you to come into their secret society unless you go back to part of their lineage. They're not about to take no Israelite, okay, and allow them to be part of their congregation, right? Their secret society, okay? It's just not, it doesn't work like that. So all these presidents, all these different politics and political groups, somehow, some way, go back to being part of each other. All right. And this is why when you speak about, the Democrats, the Republicans, they're all in cahoots with each other, man. It's just one big shit show. All right. When it comes to, the politics side of things, man. All right. So don't let them fool you with that. All right. But he said in the beginning of it, which I'm not going to play the whole entire video, is a piece that I wanted. All right. He basically was telling you how that somehow, some way they are related. And then he tried to switch it up later. Okay. So I'm going to agree with the first part that he said, because you're not about to contradict yourself and then say all of a sudden they're not. Okay. Because remember, a lot of these people got to be careful with what they say also. Okay. Because then they can't get their video out just like us, even though the ones that are really taking off the air is the prophets, right? Because we're the ones exposing the most. All right. They also kick off a lot of these people that find out the truth of certain things and they go out there and leak it. So they got to be careful on how they speak also too. Okay. Motherfucker was biting me, boy. So, like I said, it goes back to them all being part of each other. Okay. So now let's go into this, right? A couple of these little things I have that I just screenshotted, right? Let's take it from the first one that I grabbed. Give me 1 second. Okay, so it says periods of dominance or hegemony, right? These may last around 100 to 300 years in some cases, but there is no fixed pattern. So if you're thinking, because I had basically asked the question, the 250-year rule, basically, I was asking if empires and last no more than 250 years. All right, and this is how I got this that came up. All right, and it says, so if you're thinking of a 250-year rule, right, it most closely resembles a claim about periods of dominance. All right, and that's basically when America came into true power, their best power. All right, when you go back to 1776, right? That's when they basically established everything here in Babylon the Great. All right. So from that time on, all right, you see that their dominance has been from that time all the way till now. Okay. So it says closely resembles a claim about periods of dominance or sometimes dynasties, not kingdoms or empires as political entities themselves. Historians generally view it as an interesting pattern. Some writers, it says interesting pattern, some writers have suggested rather than a reliable rule of history. Okay, so that was one of the screenshots that I took. All right, now another part I took that was a screenshot from something. View, right? Because I the question was, how long do yo, Esau is fucking with my live, boy. I asked, how long do dynasties last? It says, in human history, dynasties typically last 2 to 10 generations, averaging 100 to 250 years, while dominances, right? I mean, dominionces or empires average roughly 250 years, you see? So it don't matter how you look at it, all right, whether you want to look at this place as a dynasty, a dominion, all right, or empire, is still saying the same thing, that they don't last no more than 250 years, right? It says longevity heavily depends on flexible succession laws and whether a ruler transitions into a ceremonial figurehead, okay? It says a dynasty's lifespan is defined by succession, genetics, and political legitimacy, right? It says average length, most last between 100 to 300 years, okay? And then you have, then it says exceptional longevity, long ruling families such as the Imperial House of Japan, which traces its roots back to over 2,000 years. And then I can't see the rest because I screenshotted past that, right? But the point was made when it said the AI overview that in human history, dynasties typically last 2 to 10 generations, averaging 100 to 250 years, while dominionces or empires average roughly 250 years, you see? And again, that's what I will consider America, okay? I will consider America a dynasty, all right? A dominance, a dominion, okay? And you can even put it as an empire, but regardless, they all last no more than 250 years. All right. And why? And again, if you just came in, all right, why do I believe that they're a dynasty? Because all these presidents are connected to each other somehow, some way. Okay, down the line. Right. So now let's see what else I have here. This is hold on. All right, so I got another one here that says a couple little key things that I read. I asked the chat just to see what it would say. Is America considered a dynasty? Just to see what it would say. It says no, the United States is not considered a dynasty. A dynasty is a line of rulers from the same family who inherit power, such as the House of Windsor or the Queen dynasty, right? The United States is instead a constitutional federal republic with elected leaders rather than hereditary rulers. A nation state, right? At times described as a global power or even an empire in the sense of its worldwide military, economic, and cultural influence, but not a dynasty. Sometimes people point to political families like the Kennedy family, Bush family, or the Roosevelt family and use the word dynasty, okay? And then it cuts off right there, right? Another part that I screenshotted says political dynasties in American tradition, all right? Look at that, political dynasties in American tradition. America's political dynasties go back to the colonial period. There have been some 700 families in which 2 or more members have served in Congress. And that's key right there. That's why I say that it goes back to them being connected to each other. All these presidents, how many presidents we done had? I think it's how many presidents has America had?
America has had 45
different presidents. You see,
although there have been 47 presidents.
47 presidents, right? And all 47 of them go back to being part of the same type of lineage somehow, some way, part of the same groups. Okay. And I don't care. Nobody can convince me more than that. All right. Because it just only makes sense. Okay. That the wicked beareth rule, man. Right. That the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. And this is why they're able to continually keep ruling over and over and over again, because they establish their seeds with wealth, man. You see, that's why when they die, the older heads, they die, they're able to pass it down onto their children's, man. And then all these niggas still got fucking slavery money. You see, in order for you to do that, you have to be part of the lineage. That why would they pass on their inheritance, right? Their established, all this money that they have, right? All this gold and all that they have, right? All this power. Why would you give it to somebody that's not part of your lineage? You see, it just wouldn't make sense. All right, and the scriptures clearly say that, right? As a matter of fact, let me grab that real quick. That their seed is established. All right. This is Job 20 and Job 21 and 7. Wherefore do the wicked live, become old, yea, are mighty in power. You see, their seed is established in their sight with them, and their offspring before their eyes. Their houses are safe from fear, neither is the rod of Yahweh upon them. You see, so they're going to continually, all right, spend their days in wealth. As it tells you down in 13, it says they spend their days in wealth, and in a moment go down to the grave. Therefore they say unto Yahweh, depart from us, for we desire not the knowledge of thy ways. You see, so this world was created for them to have, man. You see, and that's why they can keep passing it down more and more. All right. So let's go back to what I was reading, right? A couple of more. Let me see. Couple of more screenshots, right? It says, while America is officially a constitutional republic, many sociologists, all right, historians and political scientists argue that it functions as a dynastic, all right, oligarchy, right? So let me see what this word dynastic oligarchy is, right? Definition of dynastic oligarchy.
Diagnostic oligarchy.
No, hold on. I'm saying the word. I'm saying the word wrong.
Like doctors or healthcare executives has too much control over medical.
Shut up. Dynastic. Dynastic oligarchy. Let me just put that in there properly, because it came out as diagnostic. Dynastic oligarchy definition. There you go. Right. So it says refers to a political system where power is concentrated in the hands of a few dominant families. You see, so what is everything controlled by? Everything is controlled by these elites. You see, this is why you could consider it as a dynasty, man, because they all go back to being connected with each other. Yeah, and they keep it within the family. They keep it within themselves, right? It says a few dominant families or a narrow hereditary elite. There you go. And this system, wealth, political influence, and societal control are passed down through generations. Woo! You see? Effectively limiting governance to a select interconnected bloodline or clique. You see, you can't get around that shit, man. You see, it says key elements of a dynastic oligarchy. It says hereditary control. It says political power and economic dominance are not earned through democratic election or merit. Instead, they are inherited through families. You see, family ties, and nepotism. Right? It says wealth protection, as defined by Wikipedia. It says the primary goal of this ruling group is the protection and expansion of their concentrated wealth and minority interests. You see, often as the expense of the general ownership of major industries, right? And political power, the ability to make laws and policies merge into the same hands. You see? You cannot convince me that they not, man. Right? It says real world context. It says in political science, dynastic oligarchies often emerge in both official and unofficial capsities, right? It says while classical historical examples include feudal aristocracies, the term is used to describe modern situations where a small number of powerful families exert dominant control over a nation's resources, elections, and government decisions, preventing broader societal mobility. Okay, you see? So that's what the definition is of dynastic oligarchy. All right, which I didn't even look that up before, but it all hit perfectly in line with what I'm basically trying to say. And Salaki, if I'm not saying that, where it's this ain't one of my best expertise when it comes into these the history of all these things. All right, just brothers that are just have been given the spirit and talent to be able to explain it a little better, but Lord willing is coming out, to be understood through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, right? But let's go back, right? So let's go to, it says one, right? Before I looked up that word dynastic oligarchy, right? It says one, the wealthy aristocracy, right? It says America's economic structure increasingly resembles a dynastic system where wealth trickles down through generations rather than being redistributed through meritocracy. Meritocracy. I believe that's how you say that. Salakia. It says economic concentration. It says the combined net worth of top U.S. family dynasties has skyrocketed, far outpacing the wealth growth of the average American. Right? It says the decabillionaires. Right? Hold on. Decabillionaires. It says, according to Forbes, there are dozens of multi-generational clans like the Waltons of Walmart, the Mars family, the Koch family that boast net worths exceeding tens of billions of dollars. Right? It says influence through heavy lobbying and political spending, these families actively shape policies and taxation to preserve their generational monopolies. Right? And you have political dynasties. It says despite being a democracy, right? Democracy. It says American voters frequently favor candidates from powerful established family brand names across consecutive generations. Presidential families. The U.S. has a long history of multiple members of the same family holding the highest office, including the Adamses, the Harrisons, the Roosevelts, and the Bushes. Then you got congressional state continuity. It says legislative dynasties are deeply entrenched at the federal and state levels. For example, the Dingle families has occupied in the U.S. House seat for over 90 years. Okay. Then you got empire versus dynasty. It says in a geopolitical context, America is often described as an empire rather than a dynasty. Through scholars debate its current trajectory. It says pointillist empire. It says some historians like Daniel Emmerwar characterize the U.S. as a pointillist empire, retaining global hegemony through a massive network of international military and economic ties rather than the royal lineages. All right, which I don't agree with that. All right, they're all connected to the royal lineages. All right, it says dynastic distinction. While the concept of U.S. empire describes foreign reach and global power, dynasty is generally reserved for the concentration of domestic control among specific families or ruling classes. All right, and that's actually all I pretty much screenshotted. All right, which, you know, because like I said, it's not my type of topic that I'm always on. I only screenshotted, you know, what I thought was kind of useful towards the lesson. All right, but at the end of the day, when you look at it, you know, to me, whether it's an empire, whether it's a dynasty, all right, it's all connected. All right, and they all go connected to the same lineage and the same family. All right, and they're able to pass down their generational wealth and generational power, you know, to each other. All right, to keep this place going for them, you see, because again, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. Okay, and as we read earlier in the thing, man, it told you, the AI overview said that all dynasties or empires don't last no more than 100 to 250 years. You see, and this is why we're going to witness the fall of Babylon the Great, because the time is up. You see, I don't care how long y'all think that, hey, their inward thought is that their house is going to continue forever. You see, but Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai has a different type of plan. You see, the plan to bringing you down, to destroying you, right? As a matter of fact, let's grab that. Revelations 18, right? This is Revelations 18, and let's take it from 2. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen. And we know that America is Babylon the Great. So it's showing you that it's got to fall, right? Because that's what's being spoken here. Babylon the Great is fallen. It is fallen. It has become the habitation of devils and the hold of every foul spirit, in the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Right? NLT says he gave a mighty shout. Babylon is fallen. That great city is fallen. She has become a home for demons. She is a hideout for every foul spirit, a hideout for every foul vulture and every foul and dreadful animal. It says, for all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. You see, and that's another reason why it has to collapse, man, because you have had all these other nations drink that same the same wine, you see, and all these other nations have benefited off of you, you see. And those type of good things come to an end at one point. You can't just be supplying and ruling forever, man, without somebody thinking that they're going to be next. The only problem here is that there is going to be no next. The only next is Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, right? And his dominion, his rulership that's going to last forever, you see? Because you have all these other nations thinking that they're next in line to rule. You got China thinking they're next in line to rule. You got Russia thinking they're in line next to rule, you see? So that's already showing you, okay, that other people are looking to take over that spot. That's even more of a reason why this place will go down, okay? And because you see how long these people have been in rulership here in Babylon the Great, that you're already starting to see the world hate you and come against you. You see all these nations is coming against you. You see your own allies coming against you, you see, because you've been in rulership too long. People get tired of seeing a certain person in rulership over and over and over again with the same dominance, the same power, you see. and because nothing righteous is coming out of it, right? Nothing good is coming out of it. It just keeps getting worse and worse, right? And wickedness keeps spreading more and more, you see? So it can only signify that it has to come to an end at one point, right? It says, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins, and that you receive not of her plagues. Yeah, our people, to come out of the ways of Babylon the Great, right? It says, for her sins have reached unto heaven, and Yahweh has remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works. In the cup which she has filled to her double. Okay, how much she has glorified herself and lived deliciously. You see, and that's another reason why it has to fall, because the pride of thine heart has deceived thee. See, there's only a fall before when pride comes about, right? As the scriptures tell you in Proverbs, pride go before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. So because they have so much pride, it's bound to fall, right? How much she has glorified herself. Has to be proud, right? And live deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit as a queen and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord Yahushai, who judgeth her. You see? So this place, Babylon the Great, has been a golden cup, as it tells you in Jeremiah, right, the 50th chapter, right? Salakia, not the 50th, the 51st. Jeremiah, the 51st chapter, right? Verse 7. It says, Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken, and the nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore, the nations are mad. You see? So they're mad, they're jealous. You see? Remember how the scripture was telling you and Daniel, how they were more stout than their fellows, right? Which that was talking about America, about that little horn coming up and rulership, right? You know, being more stout than your fellows, all right, is going to lead to some type of jealousy, man, within time. Is going to lead to hate within time, because that's that pride, you see? That's that I think I'm better than everybody mentality, you see? I can't be touched, you see? You were once a powerhouse that everybody was scared of, but now you have all these nations showing their teeth. They're showing the same type of power that you once had, right? And now they're just sick and tired of you. They're sick and tired of your ways. They're sick and tired of how you push everything upon the earth. You know, how you want it your way is either my way or the highway type mentality, you see? They ain't trying to hear that no more. You see? So it's like a race for all of them to be in that type of mentality. Who could knock these devils out and we could be next, you see? And that's what's happening right now. But going back to what I said before, there is going to be no next, man. Yahushai is going to be the one that takes over, you see? Shalom, sister Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, Barakatah to you. All right, Lord willing, everything is well with you and yours, right? So, you know, all we can watch is the fall of Babylon the Great. Continually watch this place crumble, you know, as it continues to think that it's getting stronger and stronger and more powerful. You see, the Lord hit the chime on that. You see, we can just watch, we can just continually watch it fall little by little. And that's how the Lord is doing it. The Lord is doing it. See, the Lord is not doing it all in one shot. The Lord is making this place suffer, man. Taking it out in increments, man, little by little, so it can feel the wrath and the pain into that final buildup when the Lord finally gives it that grand finale, you see, because the grand finale gonna be the missiles, you see. But before the missiles come, this place is gonna fall from the inside out, you see. This place is gonna fall, you know, from every angle possible, okay? From every aspect of life. The amount of time that it took to get built up to be this great empire or dynasty, whatever the hell you want to call it, right? is how the Lord is breaking it down little by little. You know, he's taking back the pieces little by little till it's just completely bare, you see? And then when it's completely in shame, right, and fully exposed, that's when Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai is going to smack it, all right, completely with the grand finale, which will end, you know, this place for good. And that's why you're never going to see this place, you know, be inherited ever again. From California to New York City, this place is going to be a desert, a wasteland, man. You see? And that's what we're witnessing right now. All right. And Lord willing, like I said, the 250-year mark, hey, they're coming to celebrate, you see? But the Lord has a different celebration for you. The elect has a different celebration for you. We got the celebration of your fall coming up, you see? And it will fall. Best believe that, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Why? Because the Lord said so. All right. So we can just, all we could do is just sit back and watch. All right. So that's pretty much the point. You know, just wanted to touch on that. Lord willing, that, you know, was edifying and it was understandable. Salaki, if I was all over the place, you know, but, you know, it's all through the spirit at the end of the day. So, you know, Lord willing, I pray that it was edifying. So with that being said, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Call Haloim La Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone of the Well. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect scattered abroad, the Akim and the Aquat that was listening in. Yahweh Ratazah, Lord willing, that the lesson was edifying. To the next one, Shalom. Keep fighting the good fight of faith, enduring as good soldiers of Yahweh Shai. You sisters continue to learn in silence, watching the true men of the Lord. And may Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai continue to sup with you and your families, you and your spirits, and continue to increase you in knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, increase you in faith, all right, and to give you the spirit to endure, all right, all things all the way unto the end. And may we continue to watch this place, Babylon the Great, fall and crumble into pieces as it is prophesied in the scriptures. The water Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai for this truth, the water for watching this place crumble little by little, and may we experience it all the way to the end. Shalom, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Barakatah.